There continues to be more and more people who are coming onto the Veve platform, and with so many new people as well as a lot of older ones making the same mistakes, it's important for us to establish what they are, how we can learn from them, and then how we can stop ourselves from losing out on thousands of gems if we don't take the right precautions. So today we're going to list some of the mistakes that we make and how to actually solve them to become a better investor, user, and just overall learn more. Let's get started. Welcome everyone, my name is Andy and I appreciate you taking some time out your day to come and watch this video on the channel. Just before we get going, if you do want to support the channel and what I'm doing, you could either hit the subscribe button or even join the membership to get some exclusive benefits. I want to take a second to thank all of you for 4,000 subscribers. That's just insane. I think we celebrated 3k about 2 weeks ago, so the fact that we're at 4k already is just something special. Thank you so much for all the support. I truly hope you're enjoying the content, and I'm going to continue to try to push forward as best as I possibly can to help you develop yourself in this space further. We're going to talk about 4 different things today, biggest mistakes that we make and how to actually learn from them, how to do better with them. I know there's probably quite a lot of you who maybe use the app, only use maybe YouTube so they don't see the things on Twitter and then learn from that sort of stuff. So this is probably the best place to find it. And the first one we're going to cover is not selling cheap when whales create sell walls. What a sell wall is effectively is a whale who has multiples of said collectible. And what they do is they use the same price for each of the collectibles and they list them up on the market. Let's take for example the Pride poster, and someone puts up all the Pride posters and they put up maybe 15 at the one time for 7,000 gems. And what that does is, because that's the lowest, people are wanting to sell off as well. They see that 7,000 is the lowest and therefore they want to sell their Pride and they put it up for 6,500 gems and they hope that sells. And what the whale does is they manage to pick that up for 6,500 as they're starting to get it cheaper and people start panicking the price lower and lower for the whale to then scoop it up. The issue is here is that when this happens, normally we get too emotional rather than logical and put up our own for a lot cheaper than it actually needs to be. Because this sell wall is here, we therefore lose out on a lot of money that we could actually be making from this. Let's take the example that Kay actually put on his Twitter yesterday talking about the snow globe and the polar bear. Now this person had put up a sell wall of 170 gems for the snow globe. And what they're aiming to do is to have other people put up the snow globe price for below that. And over time, as that price goes lower and lower, they have a lot of gems to spend, meaning the people who are panicking and putting it at a lower price than this, they can easily scoop it up. And Kay says it's best here, if you're someone who sees this, you're actually able to pick them up for some good prices if people do undercut it. So instead of letting the whale buy it, try buy it yourself and sort of ruin their day. These sell walls are a lot funnier now because we can actually see who's putting the sell walls up. We have everyone's name and it's a lot easier to see who's actually doing it and who's not. These sell walls are there to scare you. Please don't panic when you see them, and if you see them at a lower price than you're willing to sell, just don't sell at the time. Get on them getting what they want. The price will fluctuate, but if you're not willing to sell, just don't panic in this situation. The fact that so many do panic and put it up for even lower is allowing the whale to win even further, losing you out of potential hundreds and thousands of gems. So just be smarter with this. Understand what sell walls are, why they're there. They're there to make you panic. They have a lot more liquidity than you do. You don't have the opportunity to sell things at a lot lower and then buy a lot higher and all that sort of stuff. They have multiples for a reason. They have a lot more money. Just stay ahead of the curve and you understand what sell walls are there for. You're going to win more times than loss. All right, for this second one, it's going to be a little bit of a quicker tip, but this is just to make sure you double and triple and quadruple check the things that you're listing up for prices. There's far too many people that I see who list something that were meant to list for 2,500, list for 250 or 250, and it hurts to see. It really does hurt to see. If you can make sure to just double check everything that goes on, please do so. I'm going to show you on the screen what you to do. Just when you're going on to sell something on the market, you sell at the buy now price, you choose whatever you want. Let's say it's 1,500 at that point. Before you press confirm details, just look at what you're putting up. You press confirm once and don't rush into it. Just look again. See what the fee is going to cost, see what the floor price you put up as, and make sure it's working out the same percentage as it would if you had it up at that price. People don't use the comma and the decimal the same way. What I want you to make sure is that if you're putting it up for a certain price, that the success fee works out to the same percentage as it would for if you're putting it up the price that you are wanting to put it up as. Just take your time, please don't rush it, and just make sure you're making all the money that you deserve to make when it comes to things that you're selling. I don't want you to be one of those people who lists something like the partner statue for 10 gems and you lose out on about 10k because of that. It's not worth it. It just takes a few extra seconds to look. Please don't make that mistake. The third one we're going to talk about today is selling when the news comes out and buying after the drops have happened. Now, this is probably the biggest one out of all of them, and I would say this is the most important to pay attention to. We've created a full video on a market analysis on how to actually become a pro at the market and understand it further, so I'd recommend watching that as the full way through. A little bit of a longer video. For here, I'm just going to condense it a little bit for those who just can't be bothered going to watch it. This happens for a lot of collectibles, so don't think it's just the one of them with the example that I'm going to give here. But understanding this is so vitally important when it comes to market trends and just knowing why things do what it does. So again, we're going to take the best example when it comes to Disney's first drop and the golden moments. And we're looking at Superman right here. Now, we were announced about Disney round about this area, and what we found was that Superman went from about 900 gems into the end of Disney itself, in the Disney Golden Moments. It finished on November 12th, which is here. Superman was sitting at around 670 gems right now. And some people were selling at this price because of Walt Disney and the partner statue that was coming out. Now, I'm going to admit that I sold a Superman for 770 gems to get a partner statue at 2,100. I made that decision because I knew I was convicted in my plan and why I was selling it. But some people sell here just because everyone else is selling, and then they panic for that reason and they think that it's going to go down even further and it's going to go to zero and they shouldn't hold on to it, so they sell when they panic. And that's where all people can scoop them up for a really, really good price and just gain a massive advantage when you do that. Because look exactly what happened the next week or so with Superman. He went from 670 floor price to a 1350 floor price in a matter of about a week. This just shows the difference in levels with what can happen when the news happens, when drops are occurring, and then after drops have finished. You can see about leading up to it, this was when the announcement was made, and then we had the Disney Golden Moments that were dropping all throughout this week, down to 670. A lot of people were selling off here to get the gems in order to buy them. This would be the worst place to sell if you don't need to sell, if that's something you don't need to do. And then after it, this would be the worst time to buy because everyone else is buying, and then it's after every drop has happened. So my advice here is you want to sort of reverse the roles if you can. I understand things when it comes to missing out on drops and you don't want to do that and you want to be a part of the drops and get involved, and that's great, and I think you should really do that. But if you're someone who's looking to make profit in order to do so and have more liquidity throughout this whole thing, what your aim here is to understand when the news happens and when the drops are occurring that a lot of people are really, really excited about. This is when you get in, because if you purchased 3 Supermen at 670 gems, paying about 1900 to 2100 gems when it comes to that, and you could sell 2 at that height for around 2700 gems, meaning you've already made more than what you paid for 3 of them by selling 2, and you've still got 1 left, leaving you with a lot of liquidity as well as another Superman. Now, this takes time to do, and this is harder to learn because you really do have to be more logical and actually have a plan with what's going on. But knowing when there's news that's coming and there's something big that's dropping, people often sell off in order to get the gems for that. If you can be smarter and wait for markets to continuously rise, sell before the news happens and then buy back in after the drops are occurring, that's going to allow you to make more profit, get more in your vault, and not miss out on thousands of gems that you could be making if you just didn't panic when everyone else was panicking. This is sort of mass panic that happens when it comes to drops like this. We saw drops like this when it comes to Disney and Marvel, and even some things like Coca-Cola as well. We saw little dips in the market because people were panicking and wanting to make sure they had the liquidity for when things like this were coming out. Again, this isn't going to be easy to do, and we can't always know what the market trends are going to do. We can just understand the patterns that they often take. And more often or not, these patterns are pretty similar. So you are going to learn over time, but if you can continuously watch the market and understand why things are doing what they're doing and not panic when everyone else panics, you're going to make a lot more money and make less mistakes. And the final one we're going to cover today is FOMO, and what that stands for is the fear of missing out. Now, this seems to be quite a big thing when it comes to Veve, OpenSea, all NFTs, just life in general. A lot of people miss out on the excitement that things are going on. You could even say that for the things like the craze of Pokemon cards over the last year. A lot of people got back into them, only paid a premium, and now they're taking quite a hit for it. And this is the exact same when it comes to Veve. One of the best examples I'm going to give right now is the Pride poster. Yesterday, it was pumped up quite a bit as there was someone in the Veve community who had purchased, I think, 30 of them from the supply. That does drive up the price because we can see from around here, it was sitting at 4,600 and it shot up all the way to 6,800. Now, it's not to say that this can't climb any higher, but what I am saying is that people are certainly FOMOing into it because someone is buying a lot of them at the same time. And we can see this same example from maybe the October the 19th. Now, I'm not sure if this was an artificial pump or if this was organic. What I'm telling you here is that if it is up here at 7,700 and you purchase at the all-time high because of FOMO, because you see so many people buying in, you would have had to have held for around 2 months to even slowly reach what that price you paid at was back on October the 19th. This is quite a long time to wait, and when you buy at the high because of FOMO, you often have to wait quite a while in order to do so. There are some exceptions with collectibles that continuously rise and do continue to rise, but we can see here if you did purchase at the 7,700, you're having to wait a long time before it's going back up. And the thing is, because a lot of us are not whales, seeing you buy something at 7,700 and it going down to 3,800 or 3,900, that's not something you like to see. And this is why you've got to understand what FOMO is, why people FOMO in, and how to be a little bit smarter than that. For example, back when I'd first started, I actually purchased a Superman due to an artificial pump at 650 gems. Now, of course, Superman right now is like 1,500 gems, so that's a great investment in that sense. But in that time, Superman went all the way back down to 250 gems, and I had to hold at that price for around 3 months before he went back up to anywhere close to what I'd paid for him. Now, obviously right now, that's a good decision with what I'd made. Not many people were willing to hold for that length of time when this thing happens. So understanding FOMO is going to be more beneficial for you. What you're looking to do is pay more attention to the things that are actually not getting the limelight right now. If you can understand that and you can see that people are not paying attention to something that actually holds good value, you may get lucky and some people actually buying in when everyone doesn't expect to. That allows you to make a lot of profit and not actually buy in at the all-time high. However, when people are talking about it on social media or YouTube channels, you might be just a little bit too late to the party and you might be buying at the all-time high and it doesn't actually go any higher than that after it. Artificial pumps have to take a retraction, and it's not something that often stays up there for a while because people start to realize that it was an artificial pump and that they can't actually get it for that price unless some whale buys in at those prices. Again, it's not to say that 3-4 months down the line that's going to be significantly higher than it is, but you've got to understand if you're spending all of your gems in that time and then are having to hold for 4 months with no liquidity, you're not going to be the most excited about the prices when it's doing that. Try to understand that FOMO is a part of the game. People are always going to FOMO in, and it's important to learn how to not allow your emotions to take over when FOMO is occurring. Prices often rise and dip just like the stock market, just like the crypto market. It's going to be the same in the Veve space. They always rise and fall, and from the Pride, it went all the way from 7,700 to 4,000 gems. You could have picked it up there, and now it's all the way back to 6,800, but you could have sold that. You're near enough doubling your profit just purely because you didn't FOMO into something when this was the case. Again, this is going to take time for you to learn and for you to understand. I think everyone has to go through a period of time where they FOMO into something and get hit by it, but that allows you to know what not to do and what to do for next time. These are just 4 of the mistakes that I see a lot of people making when it comes to Veve itself, and I'm sure there's plenty others that you can let me know down in the comments, and maybe there's even a part 2 if there's some good ones that I'd want to add in. But what do you think about the mistakes that you make? Have you learned from them yourself, or are you still continuously making them? Be sure to let me know down in the comments. Another video on the screen right now will be something you'll love to watch. Have a fantastic day.